Hello, Midnight Coders, and welcome to yet another live stream of me going over some REST versus GraphQL, the API comparison we all could use. Now, in the last stream, we got some things wrapped up. We got our um, ability to create a blog, create posts, create comments. Um, but now I had mentioned about GraphQL giving you just what you need and how breaking things down or spreading things apart. So breaking them apart so that if you were to imagine this in a distributed system. Um, Today we're going to look at what it's like with GraphQL, how what this is going to look like, how we implement it, and ultimately how we get back just what we need, nothing more. Because as we go through this right now and we make our requests, we're relying on DTOs to give us the view that we want or the data for the view. Where that's not always practical because sometimes maybe we want the full DTO of the blog once we're into the post once we're into the blog's post so that we see all of the information in it. But what if we're just listing off the posts that are there and we just simply want to give the title, created date, and how many comments are in there? We don't want to load up every single comment. We don't want to load up every single this, every single. We don't want to load up all that data. That's too much. That's too much sometimes. It's more than we need. So let's let's take a look and see what the project looks like right now, and then we will have a little snooper at how we can kind of clean some things up. So right now, if we just simply run the project, can't forget that cup of coffee. So right now, if we just open this up, it is our fancy schmancy website where we can log in. Okay. Now if we want to view the blogs, we come in. These are our blogs. Maybe I'm zoomed in too far. These are our blogs. It's just the one blog so far. We go in here, and now we have a couple of posts that are related to this blog. And yes, this is totally fancy as hell. We can create more. Um, yeah, sure. Another testy. Why not? I did some cool shit. We already did some blog shit. Now we're gonna do some cool shit. So there adds another one, and these are clearly not posted by or sorted by date, but they exist. And I have to close this window because it's a little chillier than I thought. Oh, got a window behind my monitor there, and colder than I thought it was going to be. Okay. So now we want to go in and see some stuff, do some stuff, whatever. Cool. Let's minimize that for now. I suppose you could just close that out. Let's just close that out. Get rid of it every time. All right. So now if we stop this, let's take a run through and take a look and see what it is that this does and is. So again, we have blogs. We have a blog controller for creating, fetching, um, whatnots. Now we have the web view, which when we come into the blog, it reaches out to the web service and fetches all the blogs. So we're coming in here and we're fetching everything. Just give us it all. The whole thing, the whole kit and caboodle. I want everything. Now, The only thing, if we were to pop into our blogs, so once we take all of our blogs, if we pop into the blog list, the only thing of the blogs that we're actually using is the username, the created at date, the title, and the blog ID. Those are the only things that we're actually using right now. So it doesn't really make sense to pull in everything about the blog, the unique ID, the title, the author, the post, the created at, the updated at. It doesn't make sense. So now, this is where GraphQL kind of creates this little bit that allows us to get exactly what we want without going above and beyond and getting everything else. Like, yeah. So let's have just a little sneak peek here and see just what it is that. Hello, welcome to the chat, Jack Sparrow. Let us explore a little bit more about GraphQL, how we can implement that in our project, and what it actually looks like. Because right now, again, we're overfetching data, we're getting everything, and sometimes we just want to get what we need. So let's pop into our build. And for those of you with IntelliJ, you can just click on this nifty little add starters, and it'll bring up the Spring initializer, and we can go through and we can pick the things that we want out of here, such as the GraphQL. Which I've already got selected here. So, and for those of you that don't have IntelliJ or that nifty little button, we could just simply come down and throw in an implementation, and we're going to grab org Spring Framework dot boot dot not boot boot, and then we want the Spring Boot starter GraphQL, as well as we want Control D to duplicate that. We want WebFlux. All right, reload your project. And let's get rid of a few of these things. So let's pop into here, because we are going to enable GraphQL, just to make it easier for us to see what's going on. So if we add in spring.graphql graphical enable equals true. There we go. That'll allow us to see it once we get there. And next I want to go in, pop into config. We're going to add some website configs here because we want to be able to go to both GraphQL as well as GraphQL, or GraphIQL. So the difference between these is, one, the IQL is an interface or a dashboard that I will show you a little more once we get into it, whereas GraphQL is technically, let's do a little duplication here, and this is going to be post. The only thing that goes on with GraphQL is posts. Um, so we only ever send post requests to GraphQL, and that's how we get information back from GraphQL. I do have another video kind of explaining that a little more that you're welcome to check out. Next, we need to create ourselves a new directory, which I believe they're supposed to be under the GraphQL. But we're going to pop in and make a schema dot GraphQL S. S just usually typically means that it's a graph schema file. And of course that would make that all sorts of funky. What? Go away. Be right. There we go. Okay. So in here, we need to define a few things that come from our model. Normally, you would do a graph or like a schema first design where you would design everything that you want first, and then you could use Netflix's. We're using just Spring Boots, but you could use Netflix's GraphQL, where you could use code generation, and all you need to do is do schema first design, build everything out here, and yada yada. But what we're doing is building out a sort of copy, if you will, of what it is that we had. So as a kind of reference, we could pop into our model and we can take a look. I got these backwards. We can take a look at these to see what it is that we need. So for example, we'll start with the blog first. So in here, we're going to need a type. And this type is going to be a blog. The blog is going to have an ID. And I slam on this little exclamation mark at the end just to signify that this is not null. Next, we need a title. Now, you'll notice how I'm naming these not like Java, but more like Kotlin. For those of you that are in that Java ecosystem and kind of catch the reference, you put the variable name first, followed by the type. It's actually pretty common in other languages, but for those of you in the Java ecosystem, it's similar-ish to Kotlin. Other things I want here is an author, which is going to be that of a user, which we'll create in a few minutes. Then we're going to need posts, which is going to be an array of posts. And the way you do that with GraphQL is you put square brackets. And inside of those square brackets, you put what you want. And in our case, it's going to be an object. This is how you define an array. Next, we want the created at, and we might as well snag that updated at, because these are, again, defining our models, if you will, in GraphQL. So, created at is going to be a string, and updated at is also going to be a string. Okay. So now, let's define a post. Type of post, which if we go through into our post model here, we can see that a post has an ID, title, content. The blog we don't need, or we will technically tie it to there so that we can get things. But again, we're just gonna model this out, so just bear with me while I run through this. And again, a comment we will define in a moment. And this created at, I'm just going to copy up here because this is going to be the same, and there's no point in rewriting that. So once again, next we're going to do, actually I'm just going to do this here, duplicate this. This one is going to be a comment, which is going to have an ID. Let's go into comment. So the comment has an ID, content, it is tied to a post. It has an author. God. Okay. So there's that and that. So again, the comment has an ID, content, an author, a post, and the created ads. And then finally, we're going to have to define that user. So let's quickly see this. I forget all of the fields I have in there. So we'll have another type of user. Yes, ER. Type that right, Mike. So the user again has an ID of ID. I'm going to say a username. Struggling with the word user, which is going to be a string. That is not going to be null. And they have an email, which is also a string. That is not null. And I don't care to have the password, so that's not something I'm going to include here, as it's not something that I feel is necessary to pass into the schema, nor would it be something that I would typically do. It just seems like bad practice. So next we need a query. We need to define our queries. So the easiest way to do this, obviously, is giving this type a type of query and then defining what it is. Coffee break. So let's pop on in here and create a type of query. Make sure I spelled that right, because I am notorious for spelling that word wrong, and I don't know why. So we're going to do one that's going to be of all blogs, and it is simply just going to return a list of blogs. Now we're also going to get posts by a blog. This bad boy is going to take in a parameter of a blog ID. If I can type right. And that is going to be of type ID, and this, is going to return back a list of posts. And we'll do the same for comments. Comments by post, and we'll pass in the post ID. Okay. Whoops. Did not mean to double tap that. And why did this not? Jeez. Okay. So this is going to retrieve. This is basically the whole bits of GraphQL and where like most of the magic comes from. So The next thing that we're going to need to do here is we're going to need to just minimize some of this noise. Okay, so we're going to make a new controller. This is going to be inside of our GraphQL folder, and it's just simply going to be a blog GraphQL controller. Okay. So now this is, of course, a controller, and in it, we're going to need to more or less link it with the schema. So how do we do this? Let's get a required args constructor in here, because I'm going to need a private final blog service. I'm going to need a private final post service and a private final comment service. Look at that. On ball today. Okay, so what do we need to do? All blogs. So I'm going to make this to show you a couple of different ways to do this. There is, we need to annotate these with a query mapping, but now we can provide parameters to this, or we can just name our method. So in our case, this is going to be a public something. Well, something is blog. So this returns blog. So this is going to return that of blog. And it's called, the method name that we gave it was all blogs. So if we use all blogs with no parameters, oh, this needs to be a list in order to be, there we go. So you'll notice that this has now got a new gutter icon, and you'll notice that this guy has a gutter icon, linking them together. Pretty cool. Now, let's do the same thing for getting posts. So this one is going to be another query mapping. This one is going to be a list of posts. Notice how all posts didn't light up, and this has an underline. It's because we have this named differently. So let's just name this, and notice how it's still not lining up. That's because this has a parameter. Okay, let's add the parameter of blog ID, right? So this is a UUID, and it is blog ID. Perfect. Perfect. So now if we fetch post by blog ID, perfect. That looks good. But now why is this still underlined? So it does kind of match, except this here needs another annotation tagged on with it. This guy needs an argument. It needs to be defined as an argument. Now it's happy because the arguments match. Okay, that's another cool way to do these. So again, we'll just pretty much do the same thing for comments. There. Oh wait. There. So now we have those. But now, what if I wanted to be a little more specific? Because I'm going to want to I'm going to want to get a few other things here. Ooh, sorry, I just had to take that sweater off. So now I want to be able to I want to get all of the posts for a specific blog. So now we're going to have another public list of posts. And I want to just get posts because this is another way to get them. So in here, I'm just going to take in a blog as a requirement. And so I'm just going to, yeah, right there like that. But now I want to take advantage of my query mapping. But now this doesn't match any of the queries that I built. So what I need to do is throw in a couple of variables here. The first one being that of type. Type name? No, that's not it. Not query, schema mapping. Type name. There we go. Type name in our case is that of blog. And the field that we want is that of posts. Why did you go back to that? And the field name is posts. Did I spell field name wrong? Schema mapping. Field. My mistake. So now this matches something new. This is telling us that we want to go into the schema named blog. So that's right here. And we want to find the field named posts. That's right here. And that is going to return us a list or an array of posts. So in our case, that's going to now get mapped to a list of posts. Perfect. Now let's do something similar for comments. So public list comments, sure, that almost seems right, except we're going to get rid of that. And this again is going to take in a post because we want to get comments by blog post. And I'm just going to, get comments. The comments for the post. And so this is going to be a comment service dot fetch these for this, and we're going to say post dot get ID. Okay, and now again we want schema map for posts and comments. So now we're going into the type name of post, which if you middle mouse click or control click, it'll take you directly over here. Now you're highlighted on line 16. Okay, and we're looking again for the field of comments. So again, we can click on it and come over to here. This is why you see the gutter icon lit up. So now, these are a couple of ways that we can get these. But now, how do we actually do this? How do we get this? What does that look like? Well, let's turn it. Let's turn this on and have a little pop over to GraphQL. Take a look and see what GraphQL looks like. So if we pop this bad boy open, and we log in because we can, and if we come here, 8080/GraphQL, you'll see that it loads up, and let's take a look, see what it looks like. The whole damn thing I can't zoom out of. Why is that? There we go. So now this, you'll see here is where we can throw in some fancy spancy stuff. So if we pop this open, you'll see here on the left-hand side that we have all blogs, comments by post, and you'll recognize this immediately if you remember our little query schema. So that's where these come from. So if we were to click on all blogs, it'll tell us, okay, we can get all blogs. But now if we want to get all of our blogs that just simply have the username of the author, maybe the created at date, title, and maybe we want to see comments. I don't know. I want to get some bits of comments. See who did comments. Right, I can do this, and then I can hit play, and you'll see right away. Look at that. Populated some data, and we only got exactly, if you'll notice, exactly what we asked for. Nothing more, nothing less. So let that sink in for a second. GraphQL versus REST. REST gives you for everything, giving you more data than you necessarily need, whereas GraphQL gives you exactly what you want, nothing more, nothing less. So now, what does that mean overall? Let's see if we can go to our blogs page, and that took probably no time whatsoever. Let's pop over to our network, and if we reload this page, yeah, okay, everything loaded in pretty quick, but we're also localhost, so don't let that fool you. There is no caching. This is taking, an okay-ish amount of time, but again, we're also getting more back than we technically want. So how can we take advantage of this, and how can we, now that we have this information in GraphQL or GraphQL, how can I translate that, and how can I get this into a controller? Because if we go into our web, into our site controller, right now, this is where we're pulling things in. But how do I say, okay, on this blog page, I want to not get everything from the blog service. I want to phase that out. Instead, I want to fetch this from GraphQL. I want to get it from GraphQL and use their schema. Okay? Well, let us pop into our config. We're going to need to create a new config in here first. This is just going to be the GraphQL client config. And what we're going to do in here is this is going to be a configuration, and inside of here we're going to make a public HTTP graph client, and we're just going to call this graph client because we don't need to call it anything else. And in here we're going to say that this is going to be that of a client equals, we're going to say web client, if I can type, web client dot builder. We're going to say that the base URL is going to be http://home. Oh, yes, of course, HTTP. I didn't do that right. Okay. HTTPS, and then we want GraphQL, just the GraphQL. This is generated or provided through GraphQL, so you don't have to actually worry about building that endpoint. And from there, we are just going to build this bad boy. And of course, if you type it wrong, it's going to work. So we're going to build that bad boy. And now we're going to return HTTP this guy. Nope, not web client. I think I passed that in there. There we go. There. And there. So now, and of course, we need to make this a bean so that Spring can manage it. So now, I can come in here, and I can say that in here is going to have a client. So this will have a private final HTTP graph client. Good, there we go. Why did I put that in here? Why did I put that in here? It doesn't belong in here. It belongs in the sitemap controller. Okay, so we're going to stick this guy in here. And now what we're going to do is we are going to come down. Now, if you remember the graphical page, which I think I still have up. Nope, I do not. So if we come into here, remember when I did this, and I wish there was a history. When I did this and I said I wanted the username, the title, the this, not that, the this, and we'll say I want posts, titles for whatever reason. This right here, we can take this query and copy it. Okay, so we can copy that query, come down here, and we're going to make a var query equal to this. See that? Perfect. And for those of us that enjoy our syntax highlighting, why do you not have annotation in ClassPath? Sure. So I can now import this, and bada boom, bada bing, it looks beautiful. So now, what I can do with this is I can come down here and say this blog that I want, I can say that I want my GraphQL client document is going to be that of the query, and I want to retrieve, not execute, I want to retrieve all blogs. So now this again comes from over here. I want all blogs. And what do I want them to look like? Well, I want that entity list. There is an entity if we're getting a single thing. But because I'm getting a list, I want this to be a list. And now the fun part is the thing that we pass in is going to be the type of list that we get back. So we want a list of blogs. So we're going to tell this blog.class. And why did you... What? Like, there we go. So now this is going to retrieve a list of blogs. And if we... Next, we just need to block. And that will retrieve our list. So now we can close this out. That looks a little bit better. This query, I'm just going to minimize it. So now, as you can see, now we're reaching out to using our graph client to now reach out to get a blog. So now if we rerun this, you don't like language. Okay. So we're not going to use language because I'm not going to mess around with that. It doesn't like language, so I'm not getting my color syntaxing for some reason. Alright, so if we run this, pop open into our browser and get flashbanged like usual. We're going to log in, go to our blogs, and we got our blog back. Now, this is exactly what we wanted, nothing more, nothing less. And try to fit this all on the one thing here, guys. Okay, so now we just reload this, reload this, reload this. There's not actually any improvement whatsoever in time, but also there's only one thing loading. Like, this is a very, very small little, very, very, very small. However, we're now using the GraphQL to load this, and again, we can poke around with this stuff in here. And why does this always zoom in so far? There we go. And again, like, we can retrieve comments if we wanted comments. And we're going to say post ID. I don't have a post ID. Yikes. Comments by post and comments by blog. I don't have either one's ID, so let me go into here and get all blogs, and I just really want their ID. There we go. So I'm going to copy that ID. Copy that so that I can come down here and say, okay, get me all comments. Comments by post. No, I want posts by blog. There we go. Blog ID is this. Give me the content, created at, ID, title, sure. And there is, there you'll see the 3 blogs that I've got with their unique IDs, which we can, for example, snag this. I think I copied that. I don't know. Copy. So now we can come up here and say posts. I want post by this post ID, and I want to know what the content is, the ID, and when it was created. I'm going to come back and give myself all of this. Now, it is, there's still a lot more that can be done with this. We can always branch it over and extend this out to the rest of our service, because I believe the blog service is still being used down here to fetch blogs by blog ID. So again, this is getting the blog, and yeah, this is then getting all the posts based on the blog ID. Why we're grabbing the blog is just to confirm the author. So we can now build out another query down here and replace this information a bit. So if we were to create another, I'm just going to copy that query. So this query, we're going into all blogs, but rather this time we want to get, I'm going to grab this, because we're going to grab here, and we need to get posts for blog, and this is going to take in a $blog ID, I believe. I believe it's going like that. Oh. And for the record, this name doesn't actually matter to this. The only thing that really matters is that there's parameters, so that we're passing those parameters in. And for this, we're going to get a list of posts back. So this is pulling in posts. So from the post, as you see down here, we are passing the posts in. But in there, we do want the author, which I believe would be inside of blog.author. So in here, we would go with a blog author username, and that's how we would get that. Then we have a title, content. Well, I'm not actually sure what all we need in there. I just knew that we needed, down here, we need to check the blog author ID equals the user ID, so I know that we needed that. That's the blog author username, not username ID. Yeah, user ID. Okay, perfect. And then I should probably look at here and see what it is that we need from the post. We have created at, title, and post ID. So post ID, title, created is all I need out of there. It's easier to say that, Mike. Jesus Christ, your mind is fried. Okay. So I need the created at, the title, and I just need the ID. Don't even need the posts, because this is going to return a list of posts. Because we are in the post by ID, or post by blog, sorry, which is going to return a list of posts. So we can come into here, and with our lovely GraphQL client, we can document this query. We can say that we want to, what was it, retrieve? Posts by blog. We'll find out if I need to pass in the ID with that. I think I do. I don't know. This part I don't know, I'll be honest with you. But we're going to find out. And we're going to take this guy back to an entity of posts, or post, not post service, post dot class. What the hell? No, I don't want to create the damn thing. Jesus, that was harder than it should have been. And we want to block that. So this will give us our posts, which I could and that's post by this, post by that. Okay. So that's going to give us a list back of posts. And you have this. Okay, you do have the blog in you. Okay, so now I can say Posts.blog. I already got that blocked. So posts dot. Why are you? Yeah. Give me the first post. Get me the blog. There we go. Okay. Yeah, it wants us to just assert that that's not. But this is gonna be. What's up, CyberSense? Sorry, it took me a second to notice you were there, dude. So right now we're saying the blog is we're grabbing the first one here, and we're gonna go ahead and from here we're continuing the exact same stuff that we were, so we didn't really change anything, except now we have our blog, but really we're only loading in the author ID because that's all I really thought we needed. So let's pop back over here and see what else we got from the blog. What else is needed? Blog title. Okay. So I need the blog's title in there as well, because we're using that here. Where else do we have blog dot title? Okay, that's all I need. Okay. All right. So if we run this, grabbing the posts should come back to the same thing. Ooh, right, I didn't pass that in. I wonder if you need $sign too. I'm totally rolling off this once I'm not really exactly sure. Okay, so yeah, okay, so passing in the blog ID. And we're gonna hope this works. Because if so, then we are almost done with phasing these out. What? Blog by author. What? Oh, because we're. Okay. I'll have to come back to that one. But for now, we almost phased it out. We are going to have a post service, which we could technically straighten out as well, but we'll come back to that. For now, let's take a look at this blog ID, because if we... Are we running? We are? Are we running? Cool. So if we pop into here now and pop into blogs, log in, pop into blogs. If we go into... You fucking reloaded on me, didn't you? You did too. Shit. Alright, so that reloaded on me by mistake. Templates class with resource. Wait, what? What are you talking about? I might need to get rid of this dev tool thing. go to blogs, view blog. It's not getting the blog ID. Did I not pass that in? No, I didn't. Yes, I did. Oh, no, that's the posts. Oh, I'm in the wrong spot. Blogs, all blogs. Author, title, no, I didn't get the ID. Okay. There we go. So now this has a spot, and now we're going to throw a fit. So now what's wrong? Unknown type. Okay. This is where my questionable stuff started coming in because I didn't know what the hell I was doing here. Okay, so you're saying this is unknown. Okay, so this should be ID, and this doesn't need that. Is that what you're telling me? Try this, do this, hit refresh, download. There we go, new error. UUID, unknown type UUID. Okay, so you need to just be ID, I think. Yeah, okay. I think it's the ID UUID thing that was throwing me off there. Nope, now we got a new error. No message available. What? Oh. Okay, so find first. Did not, so blogs did not return anything. Why is that? How do I pass this as that? Okay. So I might need to go back to my graphical. So let me see this guy. This is why graphical is such a nice little advantage to have. So we're gonna come into here, pop into here, and this one I'm doing is loading the comments. The post ID is this, which might be where I'm getting my issues from. Comments by post. The post, I'm grabbing the blog. Title and author's name. No, I'm not. The author ID. Okay. And then I'm also getting there is no title. Oh, right, post. Okay. Post title ID and created as well as the blogs. Da, 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 da. So this is essentially what I'm trying to get back, but it's going to come back empty. Okay. Okay, so for me, I've got this is post ID, post ID, post ID, post ID. This isn't that. This needs to be. Okay, so why? So I want the post. Okay, post by blog. Oh shoot, I'm loading the wrong thing. Jeepers. Okay, so I want post by blog. The blog ID was this. And I want the blog's title, author ID, ID, and created as. Okay. And that should be giving me this. Okay. So if I get rid of this guy, and just copy this. Okay. So now this needs to be that of blog ID? Maybe. Let's run that and find out. Whoa. Minimize you. Okay. You're up. Let's go back into you, back over to you. You're still gonna throw errors. Blog. Yeah, okay, because I don't know how to pass that as an actual parameter, Mike. Okay. Let's go take a look at how I pass this as a parameter. What do you got? Does will that work? See if that works. Okay, so let's come back to you and reload you, and now we've got a new error. Sitemap controller, get first list there, because it's empty. Because it's empty, but why is it empty? Like, it should be like this. But now, okay, so what I'm doing, let's bring this up. What? I don't know why this is like this, but more or less what I'm doing here Okay. Now this wouldn't run because it doesn't have an ID. So we'll try that. See what that returns. I don't honestly think it's gonna work, but let's find out. No, okay. Error at da-da-da-da. Okay. So I might need to research how to stick it. Because this is telling me the message labeled syntax. Oop. Oh, did that wrap it? It did wrap it. Oh, sweet. Okay, cool. So this is telling me here, post by ID this, error message invalid syntax, with antler token recognized this at line 2. Which is funny because that would be is right there. That's what it caught. So how do I pass a program? How do I pass this in there? Because $blog ID, you know, what I thought was this. This here came from this here in the variable is what I thought. Unless it's not. Do I have this? Like, does this not need to be here? Let's try this. So I know I'm doing something wrong at this point, and for those of you wondering, I am still learning GraphQL. Look at that. Okay, so unverified bear. Okay, so it did need what I had. So you did need that. Okay. However, blog ID should be coming from blog ID, or so I thought I understood that originally. However, reality tells me, no, undefined variable. Well, that's better. Undefined variable ID. This, line 2, column 23. Okay, line 2. Line 2 of where? Block was terminated. Yeah. Why was the blog why was this shit terminated? Okay. Input field. Yada yada. Errors. Unknown. Did I not reboot this? Or did DevTools not reload? One of the three? Cool. Undefined. Blog ID. Okay. So. Okay. Get the post for the blog. Okay, get the post for the blog. Blog ID, yeah, okay, ID, that neat. So, the ID is not being passed in. And that seems to be the error. Why is it not being why is it not registered? Yeah, 114. Yeah, you see you're terminating. Sure, let's give this a try. I'm confused. Why not? Let's see if it's confused too. Like a Thino. Da, 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 da. Okay, so what the hell did I do wrong? Fuck you. What did I do wrong? Tell me what I did wrong. Query the variables must be declared in the operational signature like this. Okay. So I'm supposed to stack in the log ID this? Is that right? I'm currently doing this. Yeah, okay, cool. And then this is supposed to be retrieved. Da, 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 da. Yeah, that's what I got. Oh, I'm also having an issue here. This should be just this. What are you telling me? I did that and it threw me an error. Okay, whatever. We'll try that again and we'll see if you're right. AI. I don't think you were. Cool. Well, whatever. We'll see if you're right or wrong. Cool. And now I've got nothing in it. Because I didn't actually. Ah! So that turns out that's how you pass variables. Okay. So now why is it that my thingamajigger's got nothing in it? This container, posts. Okay. You're the blog. That's not necessarily what I want. So I want this here, blog ID. Now I can look at that quote. Or that GraphQL. Okay. Okay. So that's what I want, I think. Okay, so I'll snag this, copy that, come into here. Whatever, I'm not gonna. Actually, I can. Look at that. Okay. So if I rerun this. Okay, so I'm forgetting my posts are coming in. Oh, right. So I got the blog's title, author, which I don't think I need all of that information. I think I need this and this to be outside of there so that I'm grabbing. Go away. Okay. There we go. I was putting the wrong stuff and the wrong information. But now I also need to grab my blog title, because I did forget that. I do need the blog title. There we go. But there's how you have it for arguments. So now if we refresh this, my blog title will be back, and all of these will be back. So now we can go from the blogs to the view blogs, and we're only getting what we want. Now if we pop in here, we're of course getting everything. Comments, they don't really have very much in them, but I imagine that if we were to expand this system out and tie things into one to the other, to the other, to the other, you could see how this could quickly get large. Now, as for what's next, the next video or the next stream is going to see us take this a little bit further. I'm going to just more or less finish up this part down here. I'll do that off a stream because again, it's just basically the same exact thing up here, just copying it down with some different parameter names. However, this is starting to get a little bit long, and that's just going to be a lot of me typing without actually saying a whole lot. I mean, open the floor to some questions, I suppose, if there's anybody actually watching. If you happen to have any questions, feel free to throw it in the live chat. But other than that, yeah. So, yeah, okay, and yeah. So the next thing I'm going to be doing in here in this class, I guess I'll run you through that, is basically the same idea down here where they're getting posts, fetch post by post ID. It's going to be a very similar thing for here, but rather than posts by blogs, which because we're getting a specific post, we'll have to add just another query in here to grab post by ID and then pass in the post ID. But tomorrow, or not tomorrow, well maybe tomorrow, I don't know, we'll see how I feel. We will pick up where we left off with this, and we will take the side here where we've got config this and config that and whatnot, and we will break it out into multiple modules. So there'll be a module for blogs, one for posts, one for comments, one for likes, one for the web, and there'll be one for authority, or not authority, auth, which is where we will then break things apart and add things in. There'll be a commons module for DTOs and requests so that everything can sort of use the same objects. But then we'll take a look at some of the challenges. We'll do a little benchmarking without GraphQL in play, and we'll take a look and see how some of these, network aspects can add in some latency. And then we'll take a look to see what can be done about it. We'll take a look to see just what can be done in the browser, or we might even just use the curl, or might use the endpoints that are in here. But anyway, we'll take a look to see what can be done after we break this into multiple modules. There's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 modules, which will give us an idea of a distributed system. It's going to be a very mock-up sort of simulated thing, but it's going to be an idea of a simulated distributed environment, and we'll take a look and see how they will be talking to each other and what we can do about how we can set up our schema so that everything still goes well and things happen efficiently. So make sure that you've got that full cup of coffee for next time, because coffee's kind of running out and running cold. So if you've learned anything from this video, and if you've just simply made it this far, hit that like button. Let me know that let me know that this was worth it. And if you haven't already, make sure to smash that subscribe button so you get notified when I go live next. And until then, keep your curiosity open, your skills sharp, and that coffee cup full. I'll catch you in the next one.